Welcome to Pour the Wine. It's Rom-Com Time, where we'll sip some wine and review all things rom-com on the Hallmark Channel. I'm Amy.
And I'm Garry. And guess what?
What?
I'm about to pour the wine.
You better pour the wine. It's
right?
Wine time around here.
Yes, it is.
We would love it if you would click that follow button on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss an episode.
Yes.
If you listen on Apple or Spotify, we would really appreciate it if you would take the time to leave us a review. Hopefully it's a positive review.
Positive.
5-star positive review. If not, we can take the handle, we can handle the constructive criticism. That's all right.
Yeah.
You can also find us on social media, on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, X, and Threads. Make sure you go like, follow, comment, and we'll comment back.
Yes, we will.
Yes, we will.
We'll also follow back.
We'll also follow back. Yes, we will. On the socials. That is true.
Not that podcast.
If you'd like to drop us a line and maybe you're not on social media or you prefer an email, you can email us at
pourthewine@gmail.com. Yes.
Make sure you send us an email and we'll read it on a podcast sometime.
Yes, we will.
Just make it appropriate.
Right. So today we're reviewing Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Truth Be Told, that originally aired on Hallmark Movie and Mysteries Channel on September 13th, 2020, or 2020. 2015.
Almost 10 years ago.
I know.
Or no. Yeah, almost 10 years ago. Yeah.
And you can watch it on Hallmark Plus. Yay.
Yay. You can watch it anytime there. Or get the DVDs. People still watch things on DVDs. And
you sure can.
This would be worth your money.
Yes, it would be.
For sure.
So who's in this one?
Well, returning in Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Truth Be Told are the core four, the Postables. Eric Mabius plays Oliver O'Toole. Kristen Booth plays Shane McInerney. Look, I did it.
You did.
I have a hard time with her last name.
Yay.
Crystal Lowe. Crystal Lowe plays Rita Hayworth. Jeff Gustafson plays Norman Dorman. And also returning is Gregory Harrison. He returns as Joe O'Toole. You can go to our podcast review of To the Moon and Back.
Yes.
Where we go into detail about the work of each of those actors.
Yes, you can.
Yep.
Check it out.
You can get the details. So today we're going to be adding a little more detail about people who are in this particular movie who have not been in previous movies or the series.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Megan Carpenter plays Phoebe Amidon. I think that's how they pronounce it.
Yes.
Isn't it? It looks like this was her Hallmark premiere. She is also in Signed, Sealed, Delivered, The Impossible Dream, which I believe is the next one in the canon. We are watching them in order.
Yes, we are.
And she was also in Operation Christmas in 2016. Some of her other work includes Sight Unseen, 1 episode in 2024, the TV series C, 1 episode in 2019, and Fringe in 1 episode in 2009.
Like me some Fringe.
William B. Davis plays Harper. I believe his Hallmark work is this film and the next one, The Impossible Dream. So I didn't know they returned until I started doing a little research. So that's pretty cool.
It is.
He's done a ton of work. This actor has a lot of work beginning in 1983. More recently, he was in the TV series Upload, 15 episodes between 2020 and 2023. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which we love, 2 episodes in 2019. Continuum, which you really loved,
yes,
15 episodes between 2012 and 2015. But he's probably best known as Smoking Man.
That's
in
right.
43 episodes of The X-Files from 1993 to 2018. Oh, boy. Okay. That was pretty good. That wasn't bad. Oh, boy. Okay. I didn't watch X-Files when it was on originally, but we watched it when it came back for a few seasons more recently, I guess.
And the movie.
Yeah, but I didn't watch it originally. Robert Maloney plays Captain Markham for Hallmark. He was in 2 of the Cherry Lane movies. Yeah. Christmas on Cherry Lane, 2023 and 2024. He was in Mystery 101, playing Dead in 2019. Morning Show Mysteries Countdown to Murder in 2019, and While You Were Dating in 2017. Some of his other work includes this TV series Tracker, 1 episode in 2024, Riverdale, 3 episodes between 2019 and 2021, Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce, which we loved.
Yes.
One episode in 2015. And he, too, was in The X-Files. 2 episodes in between 1995 and 1997.
Wow.
Jill Morrison plays Hazel, the mayor. And I haven't even had a sip yet. She plays Hazel, the mail carrier. She's been in several Hallmark productions, including Wedding Season in 2023, A Second Chance at Love in 2022, Marrying Father Christmas in 2018, and she is in 4 more signed, sealed, delivered movies.
Yay.
Which is kind of fun because I loved her.
I loved her in this
She was
too.
cute in this. Mm-hmm. Her other work includes Murder in a Small Town, 1 episode in 2024, A Million Little Things, 1 episode in 2021, and her first acting credit was the cult classic Mean Girls in 2004. That's fetch.
Yes.
If you know, you know.
You know.
So there you go.
All right. So that's who's in it.
That's who's in it. This one.
So you ready for some Hallmark trivia?
Lay it on me.
Okay.
Lay it on me. Let's get through this.
Let's get through it. Which Hallmark original film features a time-traveling typewriter?
Typewriter?
Yeah, no, that's what I said.
Okay.
Typewriter.
I was not expecting that, but okay. I have no idea.
Hey, look, it has its own suitcase.
Oh, huh. We're here all night.
It was the movie The Love Letter.
I don't know that one.
Me either.
Okay, maybe we'll have to look it up. Do you know what year?
No, I do not.
Fail.
It was an epic fail, wasn't it? Sorry.
All right, we'll look that up. We'll look it up.
God.
Is it time to drop the synopsis?
It's time to drop the synopsis.
All right, here we go with the synopsis. The Postables are on a mission to deliver a soldier's letter from Afghanistan to a teenager who's being relentlessly bullied, while Oliver's estranged father surprises him with news that shakes him to his core.
Okay. So,
all right.
I'm going to give you the first take on this one.
We had big feelings on this one, didn't we?
Yeah, I think I got a little emotional in some of these scenes. I think we both did in a few. Yep. Yeah. So what did you think?
Well, I feel like every time we watch one of these movies, and this is only the third one outside of the pilot,
After the
pilot
series,
in the series.
Yes.
Right. And I just feel like they really brilliantly navigate the parallel between the story and the people behind the letter and the Postables' lives. So they really tell all of these stories at one time, but they weave them so well.
Yep.
And this movie was no exception. I loved it.
No.
Shocking, right? We try not to talk about the movie as it's, I mean, we laugh out loud sometimes if there are funny parts and we kind of go, oh, that's cool or something, but we really try not to talk about it. But there were some, after this one ended, we were like, okay, I just have to say this.
Yes.
I just have to say this because we try to save it for the podcast, right? But this one was just so good. It's nuts how many layers of storytelling they can pack in one movie.
How many emotions can they pack?
Emotions, yeah. In this one, you have the mystery of the letter, of course. You have Rita and Norman trying to figure out what to do now after their kiss. You have Oliver and Shane's relationship growth.
Yep.
You have Oliver and Joe. Yep. You have Oliver, Joe, and Oliver's biological dad.
Yes.
And you have Oliver learning more about his mom.
Yes.
You have Norman. We learn more about Norman. I mean, there's so much growth in this. My mind is like...
I know.
On fire right now, my brain.
My emotions were everywhere.
I know. And I also love how they don't shy away from faith and religion.
Nope.
Right? So in this one, God is mentioned.
Yeah.
Oliver goes to the church at one point to contemplate because he needs to go back to where things...
He needs to rewind.
Where he goes, to contemplate. And I love that they weave it into the storyline in such a way that it's not pushy or preachy.
Yes.
But it's a realistic look at how it's the compass and comfort of so many people and how religion and faith really guide their lives.
Yeah.
And I love the way I just love the way they do that. What about you? I have a little bit more about my first impression, but I'll let you go before I babble on.
I have to say, Hallmark's 3 for 3.
3 for 3.
I mean, oof. You said in the last podcast that Oliver, just with his facial expressions, can make you cry. He damn sure did. But I'm going to also say Norman in this one.
Yes.
Damn, made me tear up.
Oh, I'm telling you.
In a couple of scenes, which we'll get to. But
I mean, I can't take it.
I know. And like you were saying, there were so many like stories going on, you know, I was like, man, I don't know if I could take this anymore. You kept looking over at me, and I know there was like some tears coming down. I was like, oh my God, I can't take this.
I know. Oh, gosh. Yes.
And I love the introduction of Hazel. I thought
that was so good.
It's like when you're way up here with the emotion, she comes in and she brings you right back down to earth, and you're kind of like, okay, I'm happy again. And then they punch you in the face again with the emotions. So I really, really enjoyed this movie. Right. And I got at the end of our podcast, I want to talk about podcast. I have something, and I don't know if whoever's listening to Postables, if you caught this, but I do want to talk about it because I thought it was interesting.
Okay, are we talking about it now, or are you waiting?
No, we're going to wait to the end.
Oh, okay. That's like a teaser.
That's like I call it an interesting catch.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So, favorite scene.
Oh, no, wait.
Go ahead.
I just want to say one more thing, and of course, this will probably make it a little bit longer. I like that the movies pick up, you know, so far anyway that we've seen where the last one's left off. Like it's the next day. And it got me thinking, I wondered why, because we didn't watch it when it aired 10 years ago, right? Nope. And forward. We just started watching it in the last few months, actually. So I wasn't sure why they did that, why they moved away from the series, which I'm assuming didn't do that great. But now they've moved to the movie format. So I was intrigued about why they did that. So I found an interview with Martha Williamson, who writes the movies, possibly co-writes some of them. People will correct me if I'm wrong. She did an interview in 2015 with Nell Minow, who's known as Movie Mom. And I will put the link to the interview in the show notes for this in the episode notes so that people can go read it. But Martha said, and this is a quote from Martha, "I'm loving this because we have essentially a whole new story now. We were doing this series that was originally going to be about dead letters being delivered late, but the life of this quirky little group just took on more of a role. People embraced them so much and just fell in love with the two little love stories between Oliver and Shane and Rita and Norman and wanted more of the backstories of these folks and their lives." And then she goes on to say, "These people are postal detectives, which actually exists, but they really became this little family. And so I found that we needed extra time, and Hallmark really wanted us to go to the Movies and Mysteries channel. Right. It is turning out to be very gratifying." So I thought that was just really,
that makes sense.
Really interesting. Yeah. I thought that was cool. And like I said, we'll post the link to the article. She talks a lot more about the characters and things, and it's just really, really good. Yeah. It was. So there you go.
All right.
A little tidbit for my own curiosity.
Well, you want to talk about some favorite scenes?
Sure. Let's hit it. Why don't you do a favorite scene first?
When Norman asked Oliver to go on a walk.
Yes. Stop it. Are you going to tear up right now? Stop it.
I love Norman, man. He is just that guy who he takes life, whatever life gives him, he takes it and he smiles. You know, he doesn't complain. And when he tells his backstories, it's just like, you just feel for this guy.
He gives genuinely little nuggets of what he's picked up throughout his life in foster care, and you see it on his face, and you see, and when he compares, you know, he's able to relate so much to so many of the other characters because of his experience.
And what was funny is, as they were walking, he's telling Oliver what happened with the kiss.
Right.
And she had said, "I love you." And Oliver said, "Well, what did you say back?" And he's like, "I didn't say anything." And
Oliver's like, "What?"
Oliver's shaking his head like, "Oh my gosh. I mean, how many more clues you got to get?"
Right. Here's your sign.
But then he says he kissed her. And then the one part when he's saying, you know, we're moving so fast. He goes, "I have a 5-year plan." He said, "The way as fast as we're moving, we'll be married by Thursday."
I know, that was just funny. Laughed. It was so cute.
That's so Norman.
I know. And Norman. You know about him, we just watched, they were re-showing, what is it? 3 Wise Men and a Baby. And And Jeff Gustafson is in that one, and he's a completely different character.
I
know. So
know.
you really see his acting chops there and how well he plays Norman.
Yes.
Because we saw him, in a completely different, he was
he was the boss of,
strict and so it was just really interesting.
So what was one of your scenes?
Well, this podcast would be hours long if I went over every scene because I want to talk about everything in detail, but I won't.
We don't have enough time.
And it goes back to Norman. The way Norman looks at the trainee when she just casually picks up that dead letter, because, Oliver's talking to the trainees at the beginning, and she's just like this one, and he is almost like it's sacrilegious, right?
Yes.
His face, like you were talking about earlier, the facial expressions.
Yes.
The facial expressions. So that was one that I loved. You just brought it up. The telling of the story of the kiss. Norman is telling Oliver and Rita is telling Shane, and they go back and forth between the two, and they're in different different cool locations. They're at the same time, but different places. And then Oliver and Shane give their feedback too, and they're kind of, it reminded me of Grease.
Yes.
Summer Lovin' is what came to my mind.
Yep. That's a good analogy.
I thought, oh my gosh, I thought that was so good. I just love the way that played out. It was just so well written.
Yeah. Because in that scene too, Norman had talked about, well, what do I do? Do I buy furniture? Or
do I buy furniture? Right,
and then Oliver goes, don't you think it's a little early to buy furniture? And then it dawns on him that he bought Shane the porch
the swing. Yeah.
And he's like,
that whole scene. Oh my gosh. Yes. That was, Yep. That worked. Definitely. I love the scene when Oliver and Shane are on the porch swing and the mail carrier comes up.
Gosh.
And what I love about, the mail carrier, it just reminds me, I mean, I know we get some mail now, but I know it's kind of, people don't get as much mail. They don't mail personal letters.
Right.
And I mean, people get packages and stuff. But I love, even before this scene, the mail carrier is kind of like, here's a letter from your brother. Here's a letter from your, like she's going through it. And mail carriers did that. It just, I don't know. It just cracked me up. But in that scene where they're on the porch, she's like, is that Steve?
Yes.
I thought that because she knows so much about
Oliver?
No. Shane. She knows so much about Shane. I think it escaped me for a minute. So she gives her mail, and then she's like, "Oh, here's a package from your mom."
Oh yeah. Oh, and she said, "And here's something from your insurance."
It's just so funny to me, And then, that, of course, that scene leads into the discussion between Oliver and Shane about Oliver's dad.
Right.
They get into more, so he's really opening up to Shane, and so that whole scene really worked.
Yeah, it did
for me. So,
I had that too as one of my favorites when they were on the porch, and you get that backstory about what happened to Oliver, and of course, them eyes when he was talking about how his dad didn't leave a forwarding address.
Yeah,
and then it's not till later on that you find out that he actually did. So
right, and it was actually his mom who did.
But at the point, you're thinking, "Oh man, Joe, a tool. What is wrong with you?
He's a tool. He's a real tool. What does he do?
Come on, Joe. What are you doing? This poor kid.
Yeah,
he just wants to know his mom, right?" I also loved the flashbacks that Oliver was giving when he was at the park, when he was a little kid on the slide. You weren't sure where that was going until the end when him and Joe are talking, and he explained. And at first, he was saying, Oliver was saying, "No, I don't remember that."
Right. He didn't want to admit.
He didn't want to admit what was going on.
Right.
So that was another one of my favorites.
Right. That was a great. Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah. You got another one?
I have a few.
Oh, you got a few.
Not too many, just a couple more. So when Shane is still at the DLO and Oliver calls her out, he's like, "I know you're still here."
Yeah.
This is like towards the end, and she talks about his faith being far greater than being an O'Toole. It's after Oliver has found out that his dad isn't his biological dad. He actually had a different biological dad, and it's the man that ran off with his mom. And I just thought, she said, "I want to walk over to you and put my arms around you and tell you everything is going to be okay." And what does she say? Something like, but I know you don't want that or whatever. Then he says, since when does what I want ever stop you? And I just thought it was funny and sweet at the same time. And then she goes and gives him a hug and you're like, you're tearing up, because it's like,
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
The tissue box.
Because it's really what he wants, but he won't admit it. He kind of wordsmiths his way around it.
Yep. He sure does.
He says what he wants, but it's so good.
Only in a way that Shane understands.
Right.
Yeah, because she's really good at getting him to open up.
Right. Right.
And he kind of does the same thing to her.
They're both, for each other. Yeah. That's what they do. And you just learn more and more information about each one. I love the fire pit scene.
Yes.
Between Oliver and Joe.
Yes.
His dad. That was just really, again, his facial expressions during that. What were you going to say?
And he drinks a beer.
I know. Does he have a sip?
Yes, he has one sip.
I meant to look.
He has one sip. I sat there and watched, and I was like, he's not going to sip that, is he?
Yeah.
He's going to go back to his yoo-hoos.
He and Joe are sitting around the fire pit at the place that Joe bought or rented or whatever. Yeah. And that's how he gets to Colorado, right? To Denver. And
yeah, because he talks to Joe, and he's like, I don't even know who I am. And he goes, sure you do. You're the sum of all the choices that you've made.
Yes, I thought that was so good. I think I wrote that somewhere. Yes,
that was brilliant.
You're the sum of all the decisions that you've made. You are who you are. Yeah. Basically, it doesn't change who you are. Yeah, that was really good.
Which now makes sense after watching To the Moon and Back.
Right.
I'm glad because of the letters that he had.
The stack of letters. So,
that was a scene
so there's a stack of letters that Joe has that he tried to send to Oliver. Because Oliver's like, you haven't been in my life.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I sent you all these letters all these years, but you returned them.
Yeah.
Return to sender.
And Shane calls him out on that too.
When this one?
Yeah. When they had just come off the porch and Oliver turns to her and Shane is trying to explain to him, give him a call. He wants to talk to you. And he's like, well, he hasn't been in my life. And she's like, you're the one that shut him out. He sent
she
you
does say that.
Letters.
Well, I don't know. Well,
there was a part where she says that, but in that scene,
she says that in To the Moon and Back.
Right.
About the letters. But in
but
that
she
scene,
says it, I think, again in this one.
But she does say you're the one who shut him out. He didn't shut you up. Right. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was
yeah. No, there was so many scenes. Oh
so I really liked. So do you have any more scenes? I have one more.
Go ahead.
The look between Shane and Oliver at the end, the way they just look at each other, and then Joe notices and he looks between them. Oh, so good.
Yes.
So good. Give Eric Mabius an Emmy right now if you haven't given him one.
How about the scene where Norman tells... They find out that there was sand involved in the letter, right?
Right.
So Norman goes, oh, I have a cousin. And then Oliver's like, you have another cousin?
Yeah, that was funny.
What did he call it? What did he say? Something about Sand the handyman or something.
Yeah.
And then he tells a story about how when they were in the foster care, they used to get their face. He said he must be smart with dirt because the bigger kids used to rub our faces in it.
I guess it's because he gives you those little...
And those little nuggets of what happened in his foster care. And I love how Oliver goes, Norman, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I know.
You created the Norman Dorman solution. Liquid solution.
Yeah.
And I just love how Oliver always sits there and lifts him up.
Well, he recognizes that that's what he needs.
Yes.
He needs to hear it because he hasn't been told it. And he was in the foster care system. And, Oliver had a different type of upbringing. And it's just cool that he recognizes that in him. So, that's really cool. And we haven't even really talked about, Norman, unless you're going to talk about it in the Cheers and Jeers, but we haven't even talked about the letter really.
Right.
So the letter is the dead letter.
Yeah.
Was burned, and they're trying to figure out it's burned pretty badly.
Yeah, because apparently it was burned by a mail
carrier who left their cigarette on the right.
No longer alive.
Right, and then So the story of the letter is it's written from a pilot who was in Afghanistan, and he was writing it to a little girl about her mom because the mom is presumed dead but missing in action, basically.
Right.
They don't know.
And then there were some rumors.
Right. And there were rumors that she had helped the Taliban and the Afghans, and they were connected to a terrorist organization. And then you find out that wasn't true, of course. Right. But then Norman really helps the little girl because she's bullied by kids at school because of the rumors about her mom, basically being a traitor.
I know,
right? And just the things he tells her, along the way.
I thought it was really good. They became pals.
Yeah, him
right
and
off the bat, right?
Yep.
And I thought it was so sweet.
Phoebe, and Phoebe, yes.
And the fact that
she gravitated towards him,
yes,
yeah.
And because they kind of had the same upbringing, right?
Yeah.
They were bullied, and he was having none of that with them kids.
No,
man. He was like, I mean, there was a couple scenes where he was like, "Shut up!" and "What are you doing?" And when they were trying to take the ribbon off of the tree, and he was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
and he's like, "I'm sorry," and she was like, "Well, maybe it's time for me to pull this down take it down and move on." And he was like, "No, you don't have to do that." But I thought the concept of the sand was pretty interesting. Right. Her mom would always send a letter back to her. Mm-hmm. And she says, when you fill up that water bottle, that's when I'll be home.
Yeah.
Aww.
I know. It's just,
And then when Norman and Rita showed up near the end with that vase that she actually liked when she was in the DLO.
When she was in the DLO. Yeah, she saw it.
And they thought that was cool.
Yeah, and then she put the sand in it.
She was like, stay cool, Norm.
Stay cool. That's cute, Tim.
So did you have any cheers?
It was really cute. My biggest cheer we've talked about a little bit is basically when you can speak 1,000 words without uttering a single one.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, it is off the chain in the series for real. Yeah. The way, we talked about the way Oliver looks at Shane, at the serious times, but also when he's teasing her a little. Like when he questions Shane about why Phoebe is with them.
Yep.
They were at the restaurant, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, why? And he's like, why are we looking for the letter writer when the letter's been delivered? But he kind of smirks because he's playing with her a little bit. I just think that's so cute. He's smiling during that time. And Norman too, with the faces, the way he looks at Rita when he's trying so hard to figure out what to say. And he wants to say the right thing. He doesn't want to flub it. When he uses his experience in the foster world as antidotes to Phoebe, which we just talked about, and Phoebe totally gets him. Mm-hmm. And it's not because of the fostering so much as just feeling like an outcast.
Right.
So he relates to Phoebe on that level, and then when Oliver tells him he'd be a great dad, and he tears up and he can't speak.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. That was
it was like, from what I saw today, you would make a great dad. And
Norma's just like,
and the tears came out
and
again.
he looks like he's going to cry, but he doesn't. And he wants to say thank you, but he doesn't. But you can tell how much that touched him. And there you go. Yep.
My God.
What about you? Cheers. I have a couple more.
Yeah. Again, going back to the beer scene, and when Oliver had it for the first time, and his dad even said so. He's like, I think this is your first. Actually, I know it's your first.
It's your first beer.
I thought that was very
cute.
Fun.
Yeah.
And again, when you said that Oliver had said you'd make a great dad.
Yes.
That was a very touching
scene. Because at the beginning, Norman says something like, how can I be a good dad if I'd never had one, or something like that, if I didn't have one in my life. So it was good that came full circle towards the end, because you can see how he related to the teenager. And so.
And then I liked when my biggest cheer was when Oliver and Joe have it out at the park, and he tells them, I did leave your mom with a forwarding address. She just didn't want you. And he was in the look.
Well, he doesn't say she didn't want you. He just says
or she wasn't at that particular time ready to have you.
Well, I think he just kind of leaves it open at first, and Oliver's like, so she didn't. He realizes she didn't want to have the communication with me again with the face.
Right.
When the realization crosses him that he's been wrong all these years.
Yep.
In blaming Joe.
Wasted 15 years.
Yeah.
And then when he tells him, I remember the slide incident where mom yelled at me because I wouldn't come down the slide and she says she's leaving, but you sat right down.
Right.
And waited.
Right. That memory comes back full circle.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, oh my God.
Like, oh.
I just can't do it.
I can't take it. I can't take it.
So what else? Did you have any more?
Yeah. Gregory Harrison is a stud at any age.
Yes,
I thought he was so cute. And Trevor John, when I used to watch that with my mom when I was a little girl, I was like, he's so cute.
Yes.
And then he has just aged very, very well. I just have to put that out there as a cheer. I love him.
Yeah.
The continuation of More Cousins of Norman.
Oh
we talked about that.
Norman and his cousins, man. I love it.
And then we've talked about it. My final cheer would be, Oliver's storyline, his dad finding out he has a different biological father, coming around to some painful truths about his mom.
Yep.
And I like that we get that information now in the canon.
Right.
And it doesn't get dragged out.
Right.
And I mean, I'm sure it will come up again. I mean, we know it does into the Moon and back, but I just like that we know that now, and that allows for more growth of the character. You have that information. And now in the future movies, we can just see his character grow more.
Yeah.
So I like that. Yeah.
You got
That's
any
my
more?
2 cents. No, that was it.
What about jeers? Did you have any jeers?
Okay. The only jeer that I could come up with, and it's hard with these movies. Okay. So if Oliver and Joe haven't spoken in 15 years, how does Joe know Shane's name at the beginning? Because he says, you're Shane, right?
Because he had the card with her name on it.
Oh, duh. Oh my God.
Steve. And he made a reference.
You're right.
Remember, he made a reference.
How did he know? I'm so dumb. Okay.
She doesn't know that that's Oliver's dad.
Right. Because I'm thinking, how does he know who works in the DLO if he hasn't talked to him in 15 years? Because she just started. I'm there like, that can't be a mishap. I'm trying to, that's right. She dropped. So she was taking her stuff back to the DLO because she quit and the card fell out of her box and it was addressed to her. I am so dumb. All right, I'm done.
But then she takes the card from him, starts walking away, and he's like, Shane, come back.
Yeah.
And that was a reference to a 1953 movie. What was it called? Shane. Where the little kid, he made that.
Well, we had to look it up. We didn't know that.
Because I knew it had to be something because the way he said it. And Shane was like, really?
Like she hasn't ever heard that before. Yeah. That's how you know it's a quote from a movie. Back. Yeah. So we did, or you looked it up actually.
Yes,
you looked it up.
I had to do it.
It has to be a movie. I was like, yeah, that was something else we talked about right after.
Yeah.
The emotions ran the gamut. I mean, the whole, Afghanistan thing, we won't get into that too much because here we are 10 years later and what's happened has happened. But, it's at that time still emotional, still, I mean,
Well, for a little child to find out that her mom didn't make it, I mean, to be raised by her grandfather.
No, that's a good point too, because the pilot, when he finally, the one who wrote the letter, meets her, and I think she asks if she's still alive, and the pilot says, or is she dead? And he says, I don't believe she's alive. Yeah. And I thought that was good in the sense that it could give them
peace of mind.
Or now they know.
Right.
There's no hope. And you realize, and you also find out that she was actually doing good things and volunteered for a dangerous mission. And she was a hero.
Yeah.
And got caught up in it. She was not a terrorist.
Nope.
And she was trying to talk to the women in Afghanistan when the men weren't around. She was trying to develop that. So you do find out layers more, and it's relatable to what was going on at the time and, for another 10 years, right? Or not quite 10 years, but unfortunately.
Yeah, because he said when he wrote the letter, it was for a little kid, and now she's a teenager. And
Well, it had been 2 years. It was 2 years
he
later.
didn't know how to tell her, but he ended up doing it.
Right. No, I thought that was, and she was almost like not relieved, but like she just needed somebody to say it.
Yeah.
So she could and start grieving.
Yeah. True.
And then move forward. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So.
Well, I had one jeer.
Okay. What's your jeer?
Kids are so mean.
Oh, I know. I know.
Come on, guys.
I know. But that's how kids are.
And I was into sports, and I loved everybody. I talked to everybody. And back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, you had your cliques, but I just talked to everybody. I didn't exclude anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was friends with mostly everybody. I mean, I was athletic and, but I got teased a lot in middle school.
Well, so did I.
So did you. Yeah. I mean, I know we've talked about that. And, but it's so hard for kids. I think now, especially with now. Social media and everything and the bullying that goes on. And it is very serious. And, you can tell kids to suck it up, but there is also, sometimes they need help.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about like counseling necessarily. I'm just saying that like kids are mean and cruel and all this. I don't know how I would handle all the social media stuff if I were in high school today.
Yeah, me too.
Or middle school. I mean, I would probably curl up into a ball and never want to leave. I mean,
I'm telling you.
I think it is hard. And, just the more communication you can have with your kids, the better. And, kids are going to do dumb stuff and they're going to say dumb stuff. And, if you hear your kids do, I mean, I know we were on our kids like, that was mean. Don't say that, like we're not going to talk about people like that, but.
Nope. You're right.
Yep. But
right.
Norman handled them.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Norman.
So
let me go back. I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that I wanted to touch on something real quick. And I'm going to run through this real quick because we're running long here.
On time. Mm-hmm.
But did you notice the weeping willow in the scenes at the playground? I don't know if it was done intentionally or not, but the weeping willow tree is mostly predominantly associated with grief, mourning, and loss due to its drooping branches that resemble tears. However, it also represents resilient hope and the enduring nature of love and family with its ability to endure hardship and maintain strength in the face of adversity.
Look at you.
There were 4 scenes that this tree was in.
Okay.
I'm going to read them real quick and I'm done. Okay. When Oliver and Shane walk by the weeping willow in the park, it symbolizes grief, mourning at this point. Oliver just found out his father had passed away.
Is this you writing this?
This
or
is
you
me.
Found this?
This is me. Okay. Right. I had to write it because I couldn't.
I know. You got to
get
your
able
thoughts
to talk
together.
about it.
I got you. Okay.
Then
so that was one.
There was another scene where Oliver walks past the weeping willow after talking to Joe. He was sad just finding out the truth about his past.
Okay.
Right?
Interesting. And this is all in the park, or this is
all in the park?
In that park. Okay.
Yes.
Huh.
And usually weeping willows are planted near water.
Right.
And I know growing up
as like I know that like I'm
and as a kid I used to love weeping willows. I used to lay down inside, under the branches, and it was so cool. Another scene was when Oliver walked past the weeping willow to meet his stepfather after seeing the lawyer. To me was something kind of
interesting,
being resilient. He's coming back.
Right.
To see his dad.
Right.
And then Joe is explaining to Oliver about his mother with the willow tree in the background. I believe it's representing hope and family and enduring hardship. When Joe and Shane meet for the first time, as Shane took the letter from him and started to walk away.
They were in the post office.
No, wait a minute. No, that has nothing to do with it.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Anyways,
rewind.
that was the last one when Joe and Oliver have that one last discussion where Joe tells him, but I did leave it.
Right.
And that tree's in the background. So I don't know if anybody else caught that. I don't know if it was done on purpose or an accident.
I don't know if it's an accident.
If you're into
Martha
symbols,
Williamson seems pretty smart to me.
I felt like that was in there for that reason.
That's very, very interesting.
Because
I'll have to do a deeper dive
both
on
of those,
that.
all 3 of those stories, Oliver, the girl, and Norman, they all had that whole full circle come around of those emotions.
Interesting. Look at you.
So there it is.
I didn't even notice that. Look at you.
Yeah. I wanted to tell you, but I was like, no, I'm save it.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
I know. He did. He said, I want to tell you something so badly, but I'm going to save it for the podcast. I'm like, okay. And I'm better at moving on. It drives you nuts.
It drives me nuts.
I'm like, okay.
I cannot keep a secret. No. If I get captured, I'm singing. Sorry.
Oh gosh.
Anyways, out of 5 corks, what do you give this?
We talked about how it has to be really, really good for us to give the 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we're handing them out like they're candy, but I'm going to go with the 5.
Me too, man.
I feel
that's
like
3 5s in a row.
I think maybe, yeah.
Just the acting.
What about you? You said you too?
Yes, I'm giving it 5.
All right. Is that a wrap?
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow the podcast wherever you listen so you don't miss one. Also, follow us on social media. We'd love to have you leave us a review.
We would.
Apple Podcasts and or Spotify.
Or send us an email.
Yes.
Pour the wine is rom-com time at
gmail.com.
Yeah. Join us on Tinsel Tuesdays for our recaps and reviews of all things Christmas on the Hallmark Channel, and on Wednesdays for new episodes reviewing Hallmark movies. We'll also be dropping more bonus episodes of the signed, sealed, delivered movies along the way as we watch them.
Yes,
no promises on dates, but we are trying to watch them in between everything else. Until then, fill up your glasses and push play. Thanks for listening.
Cheers.